I
One
mean,
team
that's
that 8-4 is kind of their peak, their limit,
it's their
is
mean.
Texas 8-4.
It's their mean.
It's no, it's not their mean. It is like their limit.
Yeah,
That's
that's
the
true.
they get there, and then that's kind of like, oh, it's like when you're playing Madden or college football or something like that, and like you're playing like the highest level, all pro, all Madden,
Hmm.
whatever, and you're up by 3 touchdowns, and somehow that's when like your all your linemen start holding, and
Hmm.
your running back just fumbles the ball for no reason, and they do whatever they can to like regress to
Hmm.
you being in a nail biter to where you've got to like execute perfectly on your last
Yeah.
possession, otherwise you're going to lose.
Hmm.
That's A&M. A&M regresses to, yeah, I guess so. So the mean is they're going to regress towards that mean. But what I'm saying is that when they start to get out ahead of their skis, and we
Yep.
called this, they were 7-1 after they beat LSU, and
Hmm.
I said at that point, like, man, this they're looking good, but I don't know. There's still a chance. 8-4 is still on the docket. Like it can still happen. It's still alive and well. We kept chronicling it. They lost 3 out of 4 to cough it up
Yep.
and finish as Texas 8-4
Sure
because
did.
that's what they do. You're undefeated in the SEC going into the stretch run,
They had sole possession of number one in the
first place,
SEC. They had
and now
sole
they're like
possession.
eighth.
Yeah, like they were had sole possession, and and it comes to a point where I kind of feel like they were Kyle Field was jumping. They were,
Mhm.
$1,000 tickets, and wow, are those cheers really weird? It's the
Yeah.
first time I've really heard it like legitimately because they even put the words. It sounded like some 1950s cartoon. Who even knows what? Well, hey, whatever, man. Whatever
Well,
floats your
there's a
boat.
reason
Y'all,
why.
y'all
There's a
seem to
reason
enjoy
why when they
yourselves.
call them the Aggies, people put an F in front of that sometimes
Yeah, like
because it's like that.
I mean, I listen. Place was jumping.
Yeah,
Texas was right for the picking. Texas A&M and was gifted many opportunities to try to make something. Marshall Reed was
yeah, it
actually
was.
like making throws downfield and looked good doing it. So I was like, okay, let's do something here because I prefer to play Texas A&M. I don't want to. I mean, is what it is. We're gonna play Texas again, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about that later in the week. But I mean, Marcel Reed looked good early, and
Mm.
then it was close, and you have Arch
Well, but
Manning hit
it
the
was
edge.
17-0. It was 17
Yeah,
nothing, and
for
they're about
sure.
to go up 24-0, and instead it's a 100-yard pick six.
Hmm.
And then Texas drives down the field, and they're in the red zone again, and they turn the ball over again in
Yeah,
the
they
red zone.
stalled out. They gave you opportunities. Like they could have been up like 20, 27-7, 31, 34-7 easily.
Yeah, yeah,
But like they were gifted opportunities, A&M, and they just didn't capitalize whatsoever.
because they're
And
Texas 8-4. That's
it's
why.
true. And I
That's what they
just
do.
and I mean, this game that has not been played. I'm so glad this game is back. I know Texas state legislation tried to make this game legally required, which I
Right.
think is crazy. For the
Crazy.
last, I mean, hey, good for you. I mean,
Hmm.
I think that this is a new staple of rivalry weekend for
Hmm.
years to come, which is also awesome. Um, but yeah, they get it done. Quinn Ewers, I know, like on one good leg, got it done. Shout out Arch Manning. He's definitely not Peyton Realized son, that's for sure.
Right, right,
Taking
right.
the corner and going to the pylon. Good for him.
Yeah, he's
Um,
he's Cooper's son and he's
yep,
Archie's grandson. So
yep, that's for
people
sure.
forget what the actual lineage is, but
It's
everybody's
exactly.
not Peyton and Eli. Come on
Yeah,
now.
yeah, for sure. No, but good for them. I mean, I think that Texas A&M could have made this a game. They didn't. Is what it is. And now we look to next Saturday for the SEC championship with a date with us in Texas.
Yeah, that's right, and it's a big one. I think the winner of that game is um, contending for the number one seed, depending on what happens with Penn State and Oregon. And I think the loser of that game is still in the playoffs. And if it's Texas, they might get a home game. They probably get a home game. If you guys
We
lose,
go on the
then
road
you're
for
probably
sure.
going on the road. Yeah, you're
That's
probably going on the
yeah.
road.
I'd say if well, and we'll talk about it. I say if we lose and they want to keep us in, we'll drop between 10 and 12.
If you
And
lose, you're not being it. I'm
yeah,
here to tell you, like, I think you're guaranteed a spot. What you're playing for now is like, do you get a first round bye or
we're
are
going
you
on the
going
road,
to Happy Valley?
dude. Which I mean,
I know. I know you're probably like, I'm torn. On the one hand, I don't want to do that. On the other hand, I'm there, and I
Like,
will
I
be
will be at
decked.
the game.
I will be decked out. Tyler will be naked in the stands, painted black and red.
It's like I will take my family's season tickets and I will stand up there in red and black.
That's right. That's right. Oh shoot. But yeah, so Texas gets it done. Texas gets to pretend like they can say, yeah, the SEC ain't shit. Yeah, except that like the one legacy SEC team you played that was actually good is Georgia, and they beat your ass, and now you got to play them again. Who you
In
beat
Atlanta.
was you beat a former Big 12 team is what you beat in Texas A&M. So like you're still not that impressive because you beat a team that hasn't been able to even win the West Division since they joined the league,
Nope.
let alone win the SEC. So like you kind of beat like SEC light
They've
when
beat
you beat
no
Texas A&M.
they've beaten no conference division winners.
Correct.
At
And
least has Kentucky ever won the division? SEC East? We know Vandy has it.
no,
So and
Vandy
like
hasn't.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think we've almost accidentally sent Kentucky State.
Mississippi State did
Oh yeah.
a while back. Mississippi State did win the West. That was in the ugly days of like that was like pre Saban,
Oh,
pre
that's like a while ago.
it was a while back, like 90s, early 2000s,
Oh.
somewhere in that neighborhood. But anyway, the point being that if you look at Texas's schedule, like there somebody posted like it was actually an A&M fan that posted this,
Mhm.
but it was like, Texas says the SEC ain't shit, and it's like they show their schedule, and it's like there's this loss up at the top against Georgia, and then all of their wins are like literally all the last place teams in the SEC. It's like
Mhm.
the bottom six of the
Yep.
SEC. And then they beat Texas A&M, who is now what, like sixth, seventh, eighth in the conference. With that loss, they're right there with LSU and Alabama in that kind
They're
of
six. They dropped
multi-way
to
tie
six.
for. Well, right, but they're in a multi-way tie for sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, something like
Yeah,
that.
with y'all, SC, and Ole Miss and Mizzou all being 5 and
Missouri,
3 in the
right?
conference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So it's not. It's still, look, Texas A&M is a good team. They got dudes, they got
Yeah.
athletes. But it's just funny. I'm going to gloat forever
Yeah.
that you're still Texas 8-4.
Your
We
team,
said
yeah.
we said you were Texas 8-4 until proven otherwise. You proved 8-4. You did not prove otherwise.
No,
So you're
seriously.
Texas 8-4, and we get to ride this donkey all the way through the offseason into next
Yep.
season. And then we get to shit talk you all next season until you aren't 8-4, which you're going to be 8-4 at best because
And the
that's what you
crazy part
do.
is your roster is not 8-4 roster, and yet here we are.
Yeah, here we
Like
are.
here we are. Like you guys had it all in front of you. Even 9-4, really. If
Look,
y'all would have made it to
look,
Atlanta, nine and
the
three or
the
whatever the
the
hell.
peak for LSU is 15-0, best team in the history of the sport. The
Hmm.
peak for Texas 8-4 is Texas 8-4. That's it. That's your peak. You can say that your peak is you went 9-1 or whatever in 2020 when everything was retarded. Half of LSU's roster sat out because you could sit out, and we had like dudes that were going in the draft. Like Jamar Chase sat out the whole season.
Hmm.
Like that, we're talking about like one of the best receivers in the NFL. Just said like I'm not playing. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. Terrace Marshall, also drafted in the first round, sat out.
Hmm.
It's We are not the same, Texas A&M. So